And this is a hot topic, given if you type into Google, what are they called again? Transgender, male, assaults, woman. Now I'm just punching it into the search engine. Life as a transgender woman locked up in a men's prison. Maybe she thought she should have been in a women's prison. Australian study finds risk of sexual assault and violence. Sexual assault and violence, what? Hang on. And violence significant higher for trans women of colour. Okay, fair enough. Victorian justice system, trans and gender diversity. Intense sexual violence in Victoria's prisons. Police investigating after trans woman assaulted, robbed at Port Melbourne dance party. Yeah, probably on the wrong side of the fence there. Trans teen less likely to commit acts of sexual violence. Transgender people over 4 times more likely than cisgender people to be victims of violent crime. Transgender teens with restricted bathroom access at higher risk of sexual assault because they can't get in, like the men that are becoming women can't get into the women's toilets, so they've got to go in with the men, and the men ain't going to like that. I just try to make it home safe, says one person. Transgender male assaults woman in change room. Let's have a look. Young girl is raped in school bathroom by transgender peer. In a recent exclusive post-millennial investigated a tragic rape story. The victim, a 12-year-old girl, was assaulted and violated in October of 2021 by a transgender classmate in her school bathroom in Mexico. This is happening all the time now. It's not a one-off case. Transgender teens, bathrooms, sexual assault risks. Transgender Wyoming woman convicted of sexually assaulting 10-year-old girl in bathroom. This is happening all the time because these men that are charading themselves as women shouldn't be in with the women. Trans student exposed girls to male genitalia in school. Just wait for this to come up. Trans student exposed girls to male genitalia in school locker room. Legal group claims. That's right. Transgender bathroom laws, facts and myths. Australian study finds and when a transgender person uses a public bathroom, who is it? Who is at risk? Okay, so there's all these things coming up now because a lot of these people, these men parading as women, are assaulting the women in these places. Let's turn to this story.
Now, only about 3 days ago, we had Maya Forstater on the show as a guest. We were discussing something completely different. What she didn't mention, and she has every right not to mention, I think she was keeping it to herself, but she's let the cat out of the bag now, that for the best part of a year now, she's been investigated by the police. She's at the centre of an official police investigation, was called to see the coppers and told, if you don't come and see us, quotes, voluntarily, we'll put you on the wanted list and we will arrest you. So she came in. Her crime is allegedly breaking the Malicious Communications Act, and this concerns a doctor, a former GP called Dr. Camilla Kamarudin. Now, Dr. Kamarudin is a trans woman and
a man.
And so a biological male. And Dr. Kamarudin said that since transitioning, that's Dr. Kamarudin there, she's found...
Dr. Kamarudin's man transitioned to a woman. No, oh my God.
That females
it's kind of Frankensteinish, isn't it? when you look at it, the way they mutilate themselves.
Much more willing to be undergo intimate examinations by her. So Maya, for a starter, a woman I admire very much, by the way, I'm sure you do too, she sort of tweeted that this doctor enjoyed carrying out intimate examinations without telling her patients that she was a biological male.
Okay, so here comes another problem. These transgender doctors are carrying out examinations on females, but not letting the female know that they're a transgender. They are male. Oh, gosh. It was never going to work, was it?
Now, every woman, before being intimately examined, or for that matter, every man, has a right to know the gender, the sex of the doctor that is doing that.
Well, they do now, because that's now been made, a rule, but it wasn't.
So Maya's contention is that any proper doctor, or
they should
say, listen, you ought to know I'm a biological man.
Absolutely.
So she stood accused of sort of keeping her patients in the dark. Basically, that was it. Somehow or other, this was reported to the police. The police have now been investigating her on this
for 10 months.
Actually, it goes back. It started in June.
Did it?
They didn't catch up with Maya until August, so it's been going on best part of a year. And the investigation continues. Police say, "Oh, we're sorry about this. We realise it's quite stressful for everyone involved, but we're right to carry on investigating." I spoke to Peter Blexley yesterday about it. He said this is an open and shut case. If you must carry out these pointless kind of investigations, he said 2-3 days, it's over. Why is it still going on? And more to the point, why did the police get involved in the first place? Exactly what is the nature of Maya's malicious communication? I know what it is. You said hurty words about a trans woman.
Exactly. And actually, I think there's more to this, actually. This just reinforces this belief that a biological man can become a woman. And a biological man cannot become a woman. Scientifically, that's not possible. They can dress as a woman. They may have surgery, but they're still underneath in their cells a man. Now,
do you agree with that, viewers, that a biological man cannot become a woman? Kind of looks Frankensteinish, doesn't it, to be fair? And I agree with this woman. I mean, reality has to come back into play, doesn't it? Because the damage... See, this man charading as a woman in the realms of a doctor is getting access to do intimate procedures or intimate investigations as to sicknesses and ailments and tests on female clients.
Maya made a really interesting point, I think, Kev, was that when she went to the police station, she said immediately to them that she felt like they weren't qualified to interview her fairly because they'd been trained by the Stonewall-based training that the police have been through, and I know they have. We have a policewoman in our family, and that the premise of Stonewall is that biological women can become biological men. Therefore, the police believe that. So how could they even question her if their underlying belief is completely alien to what she believes in?
That's correct.
It's not. That's completely alien to the truth.
Yes.
That's completely alien to biological fact.
Yes.
So that's ridiculous.
Yes.
And that's Harry Miller, who runs Fair Cop, another former police officer. He says that he believes this to be an unofficial, or if not official, police policy. That what they're doing to Maya is they're telling her, you mustn't say things like this. They know that they can't make this case stick. They know they shouldn't even really be doing this.
But they're leaving it dangling.
But they want to tell her, you've broken the woke law, and therefore you mustn't say nasty things about trans women, and that's why we're putting you through this, even though they know it will never come to a prosecution or a conviction.
So she is right, they're bullying her. And I have to say that this whole movement is so misogynistic because that's what's going on here. How dare you, as a little woman, have a view on this? If we say this is true, you must believe it. It's gaslighting at its best. I have been reported and had to go through an investigation on the NHS for saying that a biological man is just that because he had a penis. Now, that was my training, Kevin. And when I trained to be a doctor, that was what I was told. So this is just bullying at its worst. Maya will stand her ground. I'm pleased that she wrote the article. I almost wish she'd done it earlier because now they have a big dilemma, don't they? She's out there, she's in the public. Most people will agree with her. It would just be a handful of trans activists who don't, and men who want to be women. So I think they're in a sticky place now.
Here's a Met Police spokesman. This story first appeared in the Times a couple of days ago now. this is a Met Police spokesman. Since this allegation was reported in June 2023, see what I mean? Year ago.
Yeah.
A number of inquiries have been carried out by officers. These inquiries are ongoing. A year? Come on. While it is right that we carry out a full investigation, just going to interject there, no, it is not right that you're doing this. Anyway, I'll revert to their statement. While it is right that we carry out a full investigation, we do recognise the length of time this has taken so far and the impact it will undoubtedly have had on all
See,
parties.
this is what's happening in churches and things as well. This woman has been sexually abused by a male, dressed up and changed his body to a certain point to appear to be a female, and he sexually abused his patient by withholding that information from the patient. Now, if you want to practice as a transgender doctor, put it on the front door, and then you can't get in trouble. It's the covert way in which this person's gone about their practice as a GP that's causing this terrible situation.
That's the end of their statement. The impact it's had on Maya must be extremely stressful indeed. And they need to explain why it's taken so long. More to the point, they need to explain, while people are getting murdered on the streets left, right and centre in this very dangerous city, why they're wasting their time on this hurty word nonsense.
Yeah, so I was just going to say that they can't investigate the young boys that are killing each other every single night of the week. However, the other thing to remember here is on the GMC website, which is where I'm registered, anyone can look me up, it says that I'm female. On this doctor's website, in her GMC record, it also says that she's female. Now, if we're erasing all trace of a doctor being in the opposite sex, whichever way it's going, how do patients ever know who's treating them if they don't choose to tell them?
And if the medical profession starts gathering around scientific lies, we're lost.
We are lost.
We're lost.
You've got the wrong...
Well, I think, viewers, it's gotten to the point where you can't trust the medical system, you can't trust the government. We saw that through the experimental... can't say too much there. But now people are just charading as whatever they want to be, whether it harms people or not, or maims people or not, whether it violates people or not. And it's so bad now.
Royal College of GPs who are well behind this. They tried to cancel the conference I went to, First Do No Harm. They tried to cancel it 2 days before it happened. There was a massive protest outside. The police had to escort me in. First time in my life I've ever had to be escorted into a conference.
What's for First Do No Harm?
First Do No Harm is a collection of clinicians and doctors who actually believe that the evidence base says we should not be medically or surgically transitioning these children and trying to look at the evidence.
Right. Fair point, isn't it? Let's not get into the Tavistock Clinic, nicknamed by the locals Frankenstein Castle, where for an extraordinary long period of time, the NHS sponsored a place that was telling 8-year-old kids,
and younger,
and young 4-year-old kids, they were born in the wrong body. No, it's just a little girl that likes climbing trees. You really don't.
That's the level of evil that we're stooping to with these people that are in authority. We are in a very, very seriously deceived and misleading time in human history.
Have to start giving them chemicals, shooting them up with puberty blockers that will change their lives for the rest of their lives, just because they're a little girl who doesn't like the colour pink.
But you know what, Kevin? I told you I have a policewoman in my family. We were having this debate over lunch, and she said to me, she leant forward with her hand on her heart, and she said, "But isn't it wonderful now that children can say they've been born in the wrong body?" And that, Kevin, is Stonewall training.
Yeah. It's got to stop. It's nonsense. And as I say, if you can't trust doctors to deal in medical facts,
then who do you trust?
Who do you trust? And as I say, as a society, we're lost. Scientists must believe in science. They can't take wokery and say, "Oh yeah, well I kind of like it if people could change sex." Well, maybe you might like it, but it's not possible.
I'd quite like it if some of my patients who are elderly could be young again.
Yeah.
But
I'd quite like it if I could be young again.
Yeah, that's right. It's well said. It's got to do with fantasy, fantasy of the mind, and all that kind of stuff. It's very, very dangerous. I've gone a little bit too long here. If you haven't subscribed to Pro Theologist channel or Pro Brick Exclusive channel, please do so. But this has all really become pretty bad. Very bad. And females now are starting to, they're probably in many ways brought it on themselves, but it's all going so bad now that they're being attacked in their privacy and by males that are charading as females.